Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to share something with you today that I think is very important for you to know, very important for you to consider at this time. And I'm doing this on a solo Zoom recording. I'll probably upgrade it. I want to put it up. So let me share the screen right now and start my presentation, and so that you can watch this with me. I'm an African American living in America, and I live in this community, and I shall remain in this community. There's a lot of changes that is taking place in our community, and those changes, we have to be very careful about how we adhere to these changes. Well, let me continue with the slide presentation. There's my email if you'd like to contact me. The African American community and the dialectic process. It is a strange teaching, comes out of the background of Hegel, Marxism, and socialism, communism. And this process is to subject individuals into a worldwide way of thinking. I call it an idealism, which denounces your personal traditions. Let me give you an illustration. I will not be vaccinated with a vaccination against the virus. No, I don't plan to be. I'm not going to let them. I've never had a flu shot. I don't want a flu shot, don't need a flu shot. Now, if anybody tries to vaccinate me against my wishes, that's going against my individual tradition and thought within the action of the community that I live. Sometimes people want you to embrace this global mentality, and the symptoms of this starts with the attempt to change your individual thesis. I used to teach my philosophy students that, to change your thesis by dismantling your personal agenda and replacing it with another person's agenda. That's taking their thesis and making it your thesis and wiping out your thesis. Well, you don't need to do that. You want to hold to it, because this presents a conflicting result in your thought process, and sometimes you don't even know why you're thinking that. My goal in showing you this is to define some of the techniques that maybe the government uses, the system in society uses, your church, or your school, and I want you to develop ways in which to combat these subtle onslaughts that have taken you by surprise, and allow an intelligent mind, that is your mind, to influence you as to how you define your life, right? I want to define today's situation. The community which was once strong in family. See, the Black family used to be a strong group that was together. We didn't have all of this confusion going on around us. We've now been inundated by this compromising individual. Well, there's no way for you to know what objective truth is, so you've got to follow the teachings that's in front of us. Well, no, we've come to these shores by way of a dialectic pirate. We've been taken in by this scheme, and I'm here to help you out of it. How did we get here? We don't question things anymore. What we do is we just accept it. They say, well, everybody has to be vaccinated. Is that right? Everybody needs the virus. No. We've also trying to alleviate conflict, and so we agree with everybody. We go along with everything. Men are becoming so passive now that you don't know whether they're men anymore. All right. Another way that we see this power, allowing other people to do our thinking. I'm not a high school student. I don't have to listen to my counselor. I think on my own. I make my own decisions as to what I'm going to say, what I'm going to do. Then we trust smiling faces. The face that smiles all the time is not necessarily the face for you. And then we relegate ourselves, believe this, we relegate ourselves as being unreasonable individuals. We don't think with our individual mind, we think with someone else's mind. You remember the book by Orwell, 1984? Welcome to the world in 2020. We are here today. Now, are there options for us at this time? Yeah, you have to come to realize that this system that comes to try to force you to do something that you don't have to do is a form of manipulation, and it is not reasonable to keep you safe and to keep you healthy. Also, you have to come back to authoritative thinking, which is your authenticity, and rely upon the principle which I call accommodative authenticity. That means you accommodate yourself, you authenticate yourself, you think for yourself, you reason for yourself. You don't need anyone else to do that for you. And question the one that questions your tradition without relegating yourself to their point of view. And if some of you are youngsters, millennials, and you've been taught in school to listen to the person that's the authority, and you know that you're the authority in a certain way, listen to your mind. Don't listen to them. Now, and I recommend that you retain your own thesis. In other words, know the way you think, know the way you behave, and retain that. Believe in objective truth as taught and validated by whom you know yourself to be. Let me give you an example. If you're an LGBT person, right, you know you're that, and somebody's trying to tell you that you're not that. I was speaking with a friend of mine, and he told me that he lived most of his life relegating himself to someone else's thesis. Don't do that. Don't do that. Never compare your truth to someone else's truth because they've been convinced by a false truth. See, that's called the blending of opposition. Marxism uses that. Communism uses that. That's how they take an entire free communities and submit them to be under the authority or the care of some other community. Confidently affirm what others like yourself has concluded is true to life for you. Now, you can always pause these videos if you want more of a clarification, or let me know, and I'll come and take some more time and share a particular slide with you. I'm doing this for time's sake. Ours as African Americans is a history of deception. And some people in our community are like blotters. They soak it all in, but they get it backwards and they end up losing it. In other words, there's a pandemic going on at the time that I'm making this. You shouldn't be having sex with people out there. You really shouldn't do that. And a fool always finds one more foolish to admire him. And that's where the healing begins, because you're not going to let anyone put you into that position. You can fool some of the people some of the time, some of the people all of the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time. All of this may be a practical bit of wisdom for the politician or for the business executive, but you need to think everything through. Ambiguity and vagueness. In other words, the meaning of today's language is cloaked for the purpose of misleading the hearer. You're the hearer. And when you listen conclusively to people that are in authority, they want you to listen very closely to what they're saying, but what you need to do is say, the question is today is, did I hear what I thought I heard? Or what is that he said? See, what you're doing is you're becoming conscious of what's being communicated to you and just don't follow it like you don't have a brain. Let me break down the language for you. They're using the dialectic. My friend Dean Gotcher says that using the dialectic is using dialogue as a means to resolve conflicting positions, synthesizing a thesis with this averse or antithesis. That's where we get this theme that you're looking at. Thesis plus antithesis equals synthesis. And A plus non-A equals A. Well, the way I would define that is if you talk to me and if you disagree with what I'm saying to you, we have got to keep on talking until the person with the better idea changes the mind of the other person. They speak with such finesse or tact that they talk me into agreeing with them to the point that my original statement has become a blending of their original negating my statement, and I end up happy about the whole situation. In other words, I'm going to roll up my sleeve and say, okay, vaccinate me. No, I don't put a virus in me to kill another virus. And then I'm leaving the meeting saying, huh? With a smile on my face. This is what you got to be careful of. This happens all the time. Let me break down the language for you. Practice is to practice the experience of speculating, conjecture, or theorizing. And that's what they're doing. That's why nobody knows what the symptoms of the virus are. They got you wearing a face mask. A large portion of America is tearing the face mask off. Now, I know how important it is because, as you see, I have one that I can wear. And when I go out, since it's the law, they're talking about they're going to charge me, what, $300 for not wearing a mask? I'm going to wear this mask. You think I'm crazy? See, let's get into the habit of not making decisions until we have the felt need. In other words, that's what they're trying to put everybody in. We have this felt need to be safe, to be secure. I'm in my office now. You know, I have to wash things down, wipe it down, dust it. Look at my dog. See, that's my dog, Harcourt. But see, it's this felt need situation. And then and only then can we proceed further. So part of the dialectic. That's what it is. It's like every one of us are pulling together. I like to think that that you would like to agree with us. Right, John? Wrong. I have my own mind made up, how I'm going to live. Let me break down the language for you. Some people would say there's a new thing going on these days, which is designed to reshape the way you work through the normative process of daily living. They used to use this in church. A pastor friend of mine ran his whole ministry on a new thing. He even wrote a book entitled A New Thing. Well, in his text, A Dialectic and Praxis, Dean states, this new way of thinking is taking control of America as well as the rest of the world. He has that on page 1 of his booklet. Dean was right. Have you been influenced by others to reduce your efforts in understanding reality? I think America has. Through this plague, I think they have. The remainder of my time with these slides will focus upon how this process works in the African American community, since I'm a retired pastor as well as a retired philosophy professor, and I am African American, and I love the community that I come up in. Now, let's first look at the African American church. Very strong influence in our community for years. It has been infected by this plague. That's why I quit pastoring, because when you're trying to tell people truth informally, they reject it. The African American church has followed false leaders that have seriously led the traditional thinkers to another place far from the boundaries of what I call true faith. I was just reading something on Facebook. It was a news clip. One of our so-called great African-American pastor's daughter just bought a mansion. How did she afford that? Well, I know the way her father lives and they live. Remember what I told you over the years? Never make your pastor your God. This is no different than any other church group in this country that has allowed themselves to be moved from biblical values to that which is false. So the church has failed. Make sure that your life does not become a failure. Let's look at the diaprox for what it is, since we're talking about church stuff. Historically, Sunday mornings is where many African Americans frequent their denominational churches, and very proud of it. They once were safe places for us to go and live and have our family traditions, get our education, decent political idealisms were communicated there. But the diaprox in the African American church has changed that significantly. Take me back to the place of our historical context and tradition. Do you remember? We used to go to grand halls to worship. I want you to follow along with me as I share this journey from long ago. I'm going to show you some slides now, some traditions that shaped us in a vital, strong community that has lost its way. You can't find it now. You remember that? That's a black man's face, right? But the blending of the past with the present. Look, here's a set of men. They look like they were, and when I downloaded this picture, I believe it says that they were like personal guards in this white mansion. And they would walk you through. They used to dress us up in uniforms and have us do their bidding. How do others influence us? And what of our Christian obligations? Can we build our own religion? Can we follow our own faith? Can we do that? Is our faith being challenged today by bad history? Here's a picture taken from way back, maybe close to 100 years. We see a mother with her two daughters, and both of the daughters had a set of twins. A beautiful picture, one of the best in my library. Listen, can we only answer the question with an open mind? What matters in our lives? What preserved those ancient traditions? Look at the way this woman is holding that horse right next to her sons. And this is an amazing picture of how it used to be in our community. How was it back in the day, in the past? Remember pictures like that? Black people would dress up. Look at the way these brothers are dressed. Sharp with the suit and tie. The women are very strong looking, adamant in their appearance. There was a time within our community that produced the best of art, culture, class, and promise. It was a time where the best persons were sought to take the lead and to encourage others that might not have the chance of producing that moral, social climate that we live in, suffering humilities that many brothers could never endure. But when you compare that to this time now in 2020, how does our particular community look? What's going on? How about the things that we've given away? I remember well, yes, I do, because when I was a kid going to Sunday school, my mom and dad used to dress me up. We used to call it Dapper Dan. That's it. The right to think independently and to make decisions without interference from other parties. Long gone in our community. Where are the young men in our community that once thought through the important issues such as God, faith, freedom to accomplish without government involvement? Where? Most of the people in our community are on the dole, are looking like this. But let's keep moving. Times have always been rough. There's been food lines, bread lines, money lines. But look at that kid down there. Look at him down there. What's he doing? He's shining some shoes because we depended upon God to sustain us during these difficult times. We were tough back then in the days. Stable family unit. Man, when change came, look at this woman. Her man is getting shipped off to war. I know what that is. That's World War II, because that was at the time when my daddy, who was stationed in Papua New Guinea, went away. Men do not know how to say difficult things to their families now. During the days that we have ahead of us, they don't know how to deal with it. Whatever happened to the mentors? Biblical values were the mentors' tools which assisted in the development of strong organizational structure. Develop a team of people that set the person to be independent and individual. Yeah, you see that look on that boy's face? That was the look on mine. That was me. Now my hair is white. I'm the elder. I'm the guy that had to teach. Now, there I am standing in the middle of a group of men. I would take them up to Big Bear and to Lake Arrowhead once a year and teach them and train them and give them advice on how it was to be a man. Oh my gosh, I remember that. You know what they're doing there. That's a picture of men washing other people's feet. Has the images been replaced with what is expedient for the moment? Have we abdicated from that which we know to be the right kind of behavior for our brothers? Has our worship become nothing but idolatry as we seek a life of plenty and success? Do we want to be like the movie stars and the singing stars, or are we going to honor the postman? I have a new postman in my neighborhood, and when he comes by, I really encourage him. Yes, I do. I'm telling you, we have to answer those kinds of questions. Well, we shall not allow those ancient symbols of days long past to hinder us from achieving our goals, because this ancient symbol that you're looking at is a slave ship. But see, we've gotten off of the slave ship. Don't let anybody put you back on it. Think independent and keep that thought going. Your frame of reference should change. It should become a reconstruct of an objective truth mentality, and deny outside influences against that kind of advancement in your own life. You have to know that. Are there influences that creep into this depressing situation? Yes. But are you willing to see how the process looked? If it puts itself in print, are you going to continue to deny what is right in front of your eyes? Do you want to see some evidence today? How do we resolve this praxis? How do we get out of it? How do we get out of this group consensus experience that our community relishes in these days? Remind yourself that you do not need group think tank in order to do life. Listen, I know that a lot of youngsters in this new generation do not have parents. They do not have a father that can train them, that can show them how to do things. But that's no excuse. You have to know God's truth for you, not God's truth for somebody else. I recall when I was pastoring a church, I used to visit large white churches, and they would do their church a certain way. And they said, "Do you understand what I'm saying, John?" I said, "Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I don't pastor white people. I pastor black people that's in an economic rut, that's in a societal rut. I'm going to do God for myself. That makes sense to me." Develop an investigative mentality when introduced to new ideas. Don't just accept them right off the top, because if they oppose your objective traditions, you should oppose those suggestions. It's just as simple as that. You might be saying this: "Show me how it works in the African American community, Professor." Okay. I want you to take down a pen and paper and copy this down, because I'm going to show you a chart that I used to show in college when I was a professor. And I want you to pay very close attention. It's going to take a few minutes to complete, but follow me through the scenario. I'll give you a living illustration. The living illustration goes like this. You get a letter in the mail. All Americans must go to their local clinic and be vaccinated with the cure of the coronavirus because we don't know what's killing the American citizen. And you ask what's in the antivirus that you're taking. And they say, you don't worry about that. You just go and line up, and like they're lining up in lines to be tested, right? Well, this is me because I'm thinking with my own independent mind. I'm the first cause. What does that mean? I know what's best for me. How do I know that? Because I said so. I'm grown. I'm over 21. Right now, I'm going on my late 70s. That's my thesis. I've always been like that. I've always known who I was. I've never been to a psychiatrist. I don't need one. That's my thesis. That's my position. The position that I take. I'm not going to change my position. All right? Because my position is based upon facts, not fantasy, not Dr. Fauci, not conjecture, but facts. Facts develop my thesis, and I walk in that position for the rest of my life. Now, antithesis is this: the government saying, John, we think it necessary for you to take the vaccine. Now, that's a negation of my thesis, which is antithesis of my position. It always is going to come to you in that form. Now, they want me to feel what they feel because feelings are involved in this. Feelings is antithesis, and my fact that are of the thesis or the position that I take. Feelings and antithesis wants me to redefine who I am. They want me to redefine my thesis. I can't do that. See, antithesis works to bring conflict in my life. Now, follow my chart here. I'm the first cause. Why? Because I said so. That's thesis. That's my feelings. I'm sorry, that's my position. That's my definition of life. Feelings is antithesis. That comes from, on the other side of the chart, negating or bringing conflict in my life. I'm not going to let you do that. I know you're working together for this synthesis so that we can all get along and get together, right? You telling me that you're doing this for my benefit. I remember the Tuskegee experiments that they did on Black people. I remember, man, they've been experimenting, and Hitler did that. Eugenics did that. When they tried to stop our women from having babies, we abort more babies in our community than ever. And they said it's for our benefit, right? It's for synthesis, right? In other words, now we're determining that you have to do this. We've determined that you must do this. And synthesis brings you to a sense of necessitation. It's necessary for you to do that. Now let's move down the chart back that way. Because see, it looks like it's so necessary, we're going to bring conflict and negate you. But let me show you something. Synthesis is a new way to reason because of this new determination by the government, or it's necessary. And the antivirus may kill me. I don't know what they're putting in me. That's why they're arguing about now who's going to school and who's not going. Well, let's come back to my thesis. I'm self-realized. Follow thesis and follow that chart all the way down. Thesis says that I have a position. I can define that position. I have self-realization in that position. My facts is what my thesis is all about. Feelings and antithesis wants me to redefine my position. I will not do that. Let's come back under the chart of antithesis again. Antithesis would say, John, you have to come to a new resolution. And you've got to resolve this, that. We need you to do that, and so that you're showing us that you're a part of our team. And this synthesis here is causation. We will bring some conflict on you to cause you to do that in a way that you don't know. And you know, we've been sheltered in for how many months now? And I know what you're, now, what is the purpose of all this? The purpose is simple. I don't know whether you can see it on that chart, but that's an arrow. What do you think that arrow is? That arrow is to move you from thesis, to get in touch with antithesis, somebody else's negation, conflict, resolution, somebody else's view, to move you to where? To move you to a new determination, to a new necessary situation, and to a new cause. They're going to take your conservative view, which you were raised in, and move you into, see, antithesis. When you start listening to them, you're being transitionalized. You're being moved from one point to another point. And what is that? It is to move you to the new liberal view. That's when they sent us all that money. Oh my goodness, they're going to send me a relief check. No, they knew that you're like, what did I hear on the news today? All these airlines are going to shut down. All these people losing their jobs, their means of making money. This whole system. Do you see this chart? Do you know how to work yourself out of that? Do you? Because if you don't, you are being had. Just as simple as that. Now, is it possible to be a part of this system and live out a fulfilling experience? No one can participate in diaprox and keep their individual thesis. No one can. You will eventually compromise to the point of abdication by way of pressure of public opinion. You see all these athletes apologizing for being men, apologizing, a grown man apologizing for doing what the hell he wanted to do. That's what this process is set out to make you. It's to feminize you. The changes are subtle and designed to accomplish its ultimate end. And when the government uses it, and when people that have power use it, they can manipulate you big time. Now, I hope that you can take what I've given you and apply it in a way that can help you beat them to the punch. Thank you so much for paying attention.